Hey there. You, staring at a screen. Feeling the weight of the phone in your hand, the chair beneath you, the faint buzz of the world outside your window. It all feels so solid, so real, doesn't it? The warmth of your coffee mug, the sting of a paper cut, the dizzying depth of a starry night. This is reality. It's the only thing we've ever known. But what if it's not? What if every sensation, every memory, every person you've ever loved, and every pain you've ever felt, was just data? What if you, me, everyone, are nothing more than incredibly sophisticated characters in a video game so advanced, we can't even perceive the edges of the screen? What if our universe, with all its laws of physics and vast cosmic emptiness, is just a line of code running on a computer in a reality so far beyond our comprehension that we might as well call its creators gods? This isn't just the plot of a sci-fi movie. This is a serious philosophical and scientific proposal known as the simulation hypothesis. And for the next while, we're going to dive deep, deeper than you've probably ever gone, into this mind-bending idea. We'll explore where it came from, the chillingly logical argument that makes some of the smartest people in the world think it might be true, and the brand new scientific evidence that claims to have definitively proven it false. By the end, you might look at your own hands a little differently. So, if you're ready to question everything, make yourself comfortable. And if you find your mind being thoroughly blown, do me a huge favor. Hit that like button, and subscribe to the channel with notifications on. It genuinely helps more than you know. Also, drop a comment down below telling me where in the world you're watching from and what time it is for you. I love seeing our little global community of curious minds come together. Alright, let's begin. To understand this modern idea, we have to take a trip back in time. Way back. The unsettling thought that our world might be an illusion isn't a product of our computer age. It's one of humanity's oldest and most persistent philosophical headaches. Let's start in ancient China, around the 4th century BC. Picture this, it's the 4th century BC, in a kingdom called Song, in what is now China. A man named Zhuangzi, a brilliant and somewhat mischievous Taoist philosopher, is taking an afternoon nap. He dreams, and in this dream, he isn't Zhuangzi at all. He is a butterfly. A carefree, fluttering butterfly, dancing on the breeze, going from flower to flower, completely immersed in the joy of being a butterfly. He has no memory of being a man, no philosophical worries, just the simple, vivid experience of winged life. Then, he wakes up. He's lying on his mat, back in his room. And he is, undeniably, Zhuangzi again. But he's left with a question that would echo for millennia. Which was the real experience? Think about it deeply for a second. In the dream, the butterfly's reality was absolute. The colors of the flowers, the feel of the sun, the freedom of flight, it was all perfectly real to him as the butterfly. There was no dream sign, no glitch in the matrix. It was just life. Then, he wakes into this life, this one, which also feels utterly real and continuous. So, he poses the puzzle, was I Zhuangzi who just dreamed he was a butterfly? Or am I, right now, a butterfly dreaming that I am a man named Zhuangzi? This isn't just a cute story about a weird dream. This is a profound exploration of the nature of experience and identity. Zhuangzi is pointing a trembling finger at the most basic assumption we all make, that our waking consciousness is the benchmark for real. But how can we know that for sure? Our dream selves are often just as convinced of their reality. The butterfly dream perfectly captures that core, unsettling problem. Our direct, subjective experience is not a reliable guide to what is ultimately true. We are locked inside our own perception, with no external view to check it against. For all you know, 5 minutes from now you might wake up into a reality that makes this one seem like a vague and distant dream. Zhuangzi's genius was in seeing that the line between dream and waking is philosophical, not just practical. He wasn't trying to prove we're in a simulation. He was opening a door to a radical humility about what we can claim to know. In Taoist thought, this leads to a playful, flexible approach to life. If you can't be absolutely sure of your own identity, why get so rigidly attached to it? Why not flow through life with the adaptable grace of, well, a butterfly? Now, let's travel westward, to ancient Greece, a few decades after Zhuangzi. Here we meet Plato, one of the giants of Western philosophy. He was less playful and more structured than Zhuangzi, but he arrived at a similarly startling conclusion about our reality. He gave us a metaphor so powerful it's become part of our cultural language, the allegory of the cave. Imagine, Plato says, a group of people who have lived their entire lives deep inside a vast, dark cave. They are prisoners, but not in chains around their ankles. They are chained at the neck and legs, forced to stare forever at the blank wall in front of them. They cannot turn their heads. Behind them, far at the cave's entrance, is a great fire. Between that fire and the prisoners, there is a raised walkway, where other people walk, carrying all sorts of objects, statues of animals, wooden figures of people, shapes of everyday things. The fire casts the shadows of these objects onto the wall the prisoners are staring at. This is all the prisoners have ever seen. The flickering shadows on the wall are their entire universe. They see the shadow of a bird, the shadow of a tree, the shadow of a person walking. They have never seen a real bird, a real tree, or a real person. They have never seen the fire, or the objects, or the carriers. So, naturally, they come to believe that the shadows are reality. They give the shadows names. They study their patterns. They might become experts in the sequence of shadows, predicting which shadow will follow another. They award honors and prestige to those who are best at remembering the order of the shadow play. Their entire society, their science, and their truth are built upon the study of illusions. Now, Plato asks us to imagine one prisoner is freed. His chains are broken, and he is forced to stand up and turn around. What would happen? First, the light of the fire would hurt his eyes. So, what is Plato's point? We are those prisoners. The world we experience through our senses, the world of sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell, is the shadow world on the cave wall. It is a dim, imperfect copy of a truer, more perfect, and abstract reality that exists outside the cave. Plato called this truer realm the world of forms or ideas. In this realm, there isn't just your specific, wobbly kitchen table. There is the perfect, abstract, ideal form of tableness. There is the perfect form of beauty, of justice, of circle. The things we see in our world are just imperfect, physical manifestations of these perfect, non-physical blueprints. We are seeing the shadows of perfection. This is a huge leap from Zhuangzi. Zhuangzi wondered which experience was real. Plato is claiming that neither our dreams nor our waking sensory world is fully real. They are both copies. True reality is something we can't directly access with our bodies. We can only glimpse it through reason and philosophy. The journey out of the cave is the journey of the philosopher, whose mind learns to turn away from the misleading sensory world, the shadows, and toward the light of true knowledge, the forms, ultimately leading to the form of the good, symbolized by the sun. Plato's allegory isn't just about illusion, it's a roadmap for how to find truth. But the starting point is the same shocking admission: what feels most real to us is, at best, a second-hand reality. This theme of a world that is not what it seems isn't confined to the East or the West. It echoes powerfully in ancient Indian philosophy, particularly in traditions like Advaita Vedanta. Here, the concept is called Maya. Maya is often translated as illusion, but that's a bit misleading, as it suggests a simple magic trick. Maya is better understood as a powerful, cosmic illusion, a veiling force. It is the principle that makes the one, ultimate, unchanging reality, called Brahman, appear as the diverse, ever-changing, physical world of separate objects and individual people, what we call the universe. Think of it like this: imagine Brahman as a single, infinite calm ocean. Pure, silent, boundless being. Maya is the wind that stirs the ocean's surface. It creates waves, foam, spray, and whirlpools. From the perspective of a wave, it is a separate, individual entity with a birth, rising, a life, traveling, and a death, crashing. It might see other waves as competitors or friends. It believes in its own separate existence fiercely. But from the perspective of the deep ocean, there are no separate waves. There is only water, temporarily shaped by the wind. The wave's individuality is in appearance, not the fundamental truth. Maya is that shaping force. It makes the one appear as the many. It makes the timeless appear as time. It makes the formless appear as form. Our everyday world of jobs, relationships, joys, and sorrows is not unreal like a hallucination. It is provisionally real. It has a practical reality we must navigate. This is called Vyavaharika Satya, or transactional reality. But it is not the ultimate reality, Paramarthika Satya. The ultimate reality is the ocean, not the waves. The spiritual goal in such philosophies is to see through the veil of Maya, to realize that your true self, Atman, is not the small, individual wave of your body and mind, but is, in fact, none other than the entire ocean of Brahman. Tat tam asi. As the ancient texts say, thou art that. You are not in the simulation, you are the simulator, dreaming you are a character within it. This adds another layer to our growing understanding. Zhuangzi questioned experience. Plato pointed to a higher reality beyond our senses. The concept of Maya suggests that the illusion is not just a mistake of our perception, but an active, creative force woven into the fabric of existence itself. The world is a divine play, a lila, and our challenge is to enjoy the play without forgetting we are, at our core, the playwright. Now let's make a big leap forward in time to 17th century Europe. The scientific revolution is beginning. People are starting to trust observation, experiment, and mathematics to understand the world. But a French philosopher and mathematician named René Descartes decided to take skepticism to its absolute, terrifying limit. He wanted to find a foundation for knowledge that was so rock solid, not even the most powerful doubt could shake it. His method? To doubt everything he possibly could, systematically, until he found something indubitable. And so, he invented a thought experiment that is the direct ancestor of the brain in a vat and the matrix. He asked, what if a supremely powerful, cunning, and malicious evil demon was dedicated to deceiving me? Not a dream, not a natural illusion, but an intentional, all-powerful deceiver. This demon could be feeding me everything. The sky I see, the ground I walk on, the feeling of my own hands, the memories of my childhood, the logical proofs of mathematics, all of it could be a complete, coherent, but totally false reality injected directly into my mind. The demon could be creating a perfect, seamless virtual world for me to inhabit, with no glitches. This is a horrifying upgrade. Zhuangzi's doubt was gentle and personal. Plato's cave was a natural condition. Maya is a spiritual principle. But Descartes' evil demon is a personalized, malevolent hacker of your mind. If this is possible, then literally nothing you get from your senses or even your reasoned thoughts can be trusted at first glance. You could be completely wrong about everything. Descartes pushed this doubt as far as it could go. And then, in the midst of this total, abyssal uncertainty, he found his famous foothold. He realized that even if the demon is deceiving him about everything, there is one thing the demon cannot make him doubt: the fact that he is being deceived. To be deceived, you must exist as a thinking thing. The very act of doubting, of thinking, proves there is a thinker doing it. Hence, cogito, ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. In that one stark statement, Descartes located the one irreducible certainty: his own conscious existence. The I that thinks, doubts, wonders, and is aware. Everything else, the physical world, other people, even his own body, remained under a cloud of suspicion, to be painstakingly proven back into existence through arguments, like proving a good, non-deceiving God exists first. But the thinking self was the unshakable starting point. Descartes' legacy here is twofold. First, he gave us the ultimate what-if scenario for technological deception, a scenario that maps almost perfectly onto a high-tech simulation run by an indifferent or mischievous intelligence. Second, and perhaps more importantly, he shifted the focus of reality's foundation inward. If you can't trust the external world, the only reality you can be absolutely sure of is your own consciousness. This planted a seed that would grow into modern philosophy's obsession with the mind and the problem of how it connects to a seemingly external world. So, look at this incredible journey. Across 2,000 years and multiple, unconnected cultures, some of humanity's greatest thinkers arrived at variations of the same mind-bending conclusion: the world presented by our senses is not trustworthy. Zhuangzi used the innocence of a dream to show that our sense of real is fluid and subjective. He made the boundary between realities porous. Plato used the stark imagery of prisoners and shadows to argue that our entire sensory world is a cheap copy of a richer, truer reality accessible only to the mind. Indian philosophy through Maya presented the world as a divine, dynamic illusion, a veiling of the ultimate oneness, where separation and individuality are the core of the trick. Descartes used the logic of a malevolent hacker to scorch the earth of certainty, leaving only the thinking self standing amid the ruins of a potentially fake universe. They weren't talking about computer code or graphics processors. They used the metaphors of their time: dreams, firelight, veils, and demons. But the core anxiety is identical to the one we feel when we watch The Matrix or ponder Nick Bostrom's statistical argument. It's the anxiety that the stage set is so convincing, we've forgotten we're in a play. That the rules of the game feel so absolute, we can't imagine they were programmed. This is why the simulation hypothesis feels so powerful to us today. It's not a new idea. It's simply the latest and most technologically sophisticated costume for one of humanity's oldest and most persistent philosophical headaches. We've always been afraid the world might be an illusion. Now, for the first time, we are building illusions complex enough to make that fear feel not just poetic, but plausible. We are, in a sense, building our own caves, our own Maya, our own demonic simulations. And in doing so, we are forced to look at our own reality and ask with fresh urgency, could someone, or something, be building this for us? The next time you have an incredibly vivid dream, or see a shadow that tricks your eye for a second, remember Zhuangzi, Plato, the sages of India, and Descartes. You're not having a modern thought. You're participating in a conversation that is as old as conscious thought itself. You're feeling the ancient, persistent, and wonderfully unsettling itch to look behind the curtain. And that, perhaps, is the most real thing of all. So, for millennia, the question was a philosophical one: could we be deceived? It was a tool for probing the limits of knowledge. But in the 20th and 21st centuries, something changed. The question began to shift from, could we be in a simulation? To, are we statistically likely to be in one? The tool for this shift wasn't just pure thought, it was the rapid, mind-boggling advancement of our own technology. Look at the trajectory. A century ago, we had radio. Now, I'm holding a supercomputer in my pocket that can access the sum of human knowledge, render photorealistic 3D worlds, and connect me to anyone on the planet in an instant. Video games evolved from beeping pixels to vast open worlds that can feel, for hours at a time, almost like places. Virtual reality, while still clunky, is making strides toward immersion. We're seriously talking about creating artificial general intelligence, AGI, a machine that can think and understand like a human. If this is the progress we've made in 100 years, what about in 1,000? Or 10,000? What would a civilization a million years more advanced than us look like? Their technology wouldn't be magic to us. It would be so far beyond our understanding it might as well be. This line of thinking led a philosopher at the University of Oxford named Nick Bostrom to formalize what's now known as the simulation argument in a landmark 2003 paper titled, aptly, "Are You Living in a Computer Simulation?" Bostrom's argument is elegant, logical, and deeply unsettling. It doesn't start by saying, we are in a simulation. Instead, it presents a trilemma, 3 possible propositions, at least one of which must be true. Proposition 1, extinction. Almost all civilizations like ours go extinct before they reach a post-human stage, a level of technological maturity where they could run incredibly detailed, conscious simulations of their own ancestors, or other beings like them. In other words, we die off, by war, climate disaster, asteroid impact, or some other great filter, before we ever get the chance to create such a thing. If this is true, then no one is making simulations, so we're almost certainly in base reality. Proposition 2. Disinterest. Some civilizations do reach that godlike technological stage, but exactly 0 of them ever choose to run such ancestor simulations. Maybe they find it unethical, creating billions of sentient beings for what might be mere curiosity or entertainment. Maybe they've moved so far beyond their biological origins that they have 0 interest in looking back. Maybe they have legal or moral taboos against it. If every advanced civilization makes this choice, then again, no simulations exist, and we are real. Proposition 3. The simulation. A significant number of post-human civilizations do reach that stage, and at least some of them do choose to run ancestor simulations, or variations of them. Here's where the math kicks in. If even a tiny percentage of these ultra-advanced civilizations run simulations, they could run astronomical numbers of them. Think about it. If you had a universe-sized computer, why run just one simulation of the 21st century? You could run billions. Trillions. You could run them for fun, for historical research, for scientific testing. The motivations are endless. And if simulations can create conscious beings within them, and if those simulated beings eventually reach a level where they can run their own simulations, you get a Russian doll effect. Simulations within simulations within simulations. The numbers become mind-numbing. Bostrom's logical conclusion is this: if Proposition 3 is true, then the vast majority of all conscious beings who have experiences like ours, thinking they are flesh and blood beings in a physical world, would, in fact, be simulated beings. There would be one original, base reality, and a near-infinite number of simulated realities branching off from it. If you picked a conscious mind at random from that gigantic pile, the odds are overwhelmingly stacked that you'd pick one from a simulation. Therefore, Bostrom argues, if you believe that humanity will survive and will one day gain the ability and the desire to create such simulations, you should also believe that we are already in one. It becomes the statistically rational belief. This argument hit the mainstream hard. Tech entrepreneurs like Elon Musk have publicly embraced a version of it, famously saying, "The odds that we are in base reality is 1 in billions." It feels like a very Silicon Valley idea, born from witnessing exponential tech growth firsthand. But let's pause the philosophical logic and get practical. Could it even be done? What would it take to actually simulate a universe? First, you need unimaginable computing power. Let's just simulate one human brain. It has about 86 billion neurons, each connected to thousands of others, forming trillions of synapses firing in complex electrochemical patterns. Simulating that at a quantum level? The computational requirements are staggering, perhaps requiring more processing power than exists in our entire current global infrastructure just for one brain. Now, simulate 8 billion of them. Now simulate every animal, every insect, every blade of grass. Now simulate every atom in the Earth, the Moon, the Sun, and the hundreds of billions of stars in our galaxy, and the trillions of galaxies beyond, all interacting according to the laws of physics. The scale is so incomprehensibly vast it seems laughable. But here, proponents have a clever retort, often called the video game rendering argument. A modern video game doesn't simulate every atom in its world. It uses shortcuts. It only renders the parts of the scene the player can actually see. Distant mountains are just low-resolution textures. Buildings behind you aren't calculated at all until you turn around. The universe could work the same way. Reality is only calculated in full detail at the point of observation. This is eerily reminiscent of some interpretations of quantum mechanics, where particles exist in a fuzzy cloud of probabilities until they are measured, at which point they collapse into a definite state. Could that be the universe's way of saving on processing power? As the comedian Chuck Nice joked on Neil deGrasse Tyson's podcast, maybe the speed of light is a limit not of physics, but of processing speed, to stop us from reaching parts of the universe the simulators haven't finished rendering yet. Maybe we don't need to simulate the whole universe in perfect detail. Maybe you just need to simulate conscious minds and feed them a consistent experience. This is more like the movie The Matrix, where real, biological humans are plugged into a shared virtual world. Their bodies exist in pods, but their minds live in the simulation. In this scenario, we are real, but our environment is fake. The hardest nut to crack, though, is consciousness itself. Can you simulate a brain and get consciousness to just emerge? We have no idea how consciousness arises from meat. We don't even have a good scientific definition for it. The hard problem of consciousness, as philosopher David Chalmers calls it, is the question of why and how we have subjective, first-person experience, qualia, at all. If we can't explain how it works in a biological system, how can we claim to be able to recreate it in a silicon one? This is a massive hole in the practical argument for simulations. Critics of the simulation hypothesis pounce on these issues. Physicist Lisa Randall wonders why any advanced being would bother simulating us. We mostly are interested in ourselves, she said. Why simulate us? I mean, there's so many things to be simulating. It's a fair point. Maybe ancestor simulations are boring. Maybe they're running simulations of abstract mathematical principles or exotic forms of energy we can't conceive of. Others point out that the argument might be circular or based on flawed anthropic reasoning. Cosmologist Sean Carroll argues that the simulation hypothesis assumes it's easy for us to imagine other civilizations making simulations, but if we are typical simulated beings, we ourselves would likely not be capable of making them, which contradicts the initial assumption. And then there are those who argue the whole idea is not just unlikely, but fundamentally incoherent. If our universe is a simulation, what is it running on? You have to posit some other, realer, reality with its own physical laws and computers. But then, what created that reality? You've just kicked the can down the road, trading one mystery, the origin of our universe, for another, the origin of the simulator's universe. For a long time, the debate seemed stuck in this philosophical and speculative realm. It was fascinating, mind-bending, but ultimately untestable, what philosophers call unfalsifiable. You couldn't prove it, but you couldn't definitively disprove it either. It was the perfect late-night dorm room conversation. That is, until very recently. In late 2025, a team of physicists from UBC Okanagan and other institutions published research that claims to have moved the question from philosophy into the domain of hard, mathematical proof. Their conclusion? It is mathematically impossible for our universe to be a simulation. This is huge, so let's break it down in simple terms. Modern physics has been on a century-long journey of dematerializing reality. Newton saw solid objects and forces. Einstein showed that space and time are a flexible fabric. Quantum mechanics revealed a bizarre, probabilistic world at the smallest scales. The cutting edge today is quantum gravity, which suggests that even space and time are not fundamental. They emerge from something deeper. And that something, many theorists propose, is information. Think of the universe not as made of stuff, but of bits, like the ones and zeros of a computer, but more fundamental. This is sometimes called the Platonic realm, a domain of pure mathematical relationships and information that is more real than the physical world we see. From this informational substrate, the illusion of space, time, and matter crystallizes. Now, if reality is fundamentally informational and computational, doesn't that support the simulation hypothesis? Not so fast, say the researchers. They applied some of the most powerful and humbling theorems in mathematics, Gödel's incompleteness theorems. In the 1930s, Kurt Gödel proved that in any sufficiently complex mathematical system, there will always be true statements that cannot be proven within the rules of that system. The system is either incomplete, can't prove all truths, or inconsistent, contains contradictions. A classic example is the sentence, "This statement is not provable." If you can prove it, then it's false, because you just proved it, so it is provable. But if it's false that it's not provable, then it is provable, which leads to a contradiction. If you can't prove it, then the statement is actually true, it correctly states its own unprovability, but you can never formally nail it down within the system. The UBC team argued that this kind of Gödelian truth applies to our physical reality. They demonstrated that a complete and consistent theory of everything, a description of all of reality, cannot be achieved through computation alone. There will always be aspects that are computationally undecidable. And here's the kicker: any simulation, by its very nature, is algorithmic. It follows a set of programmed, step-by-step rules. It is pure computation. But if the foundational layer of our universe contains truths and understandings that are non-algorithmic, that cannot be captured by any finite set of computational rules, then our universe cannot be the product of an algorithm. It cannot be a simulation. As lead author Dr. Mir Faisal put it, any simulation is inherently algorithmic. But since the fundamental level of reality is based on non-algorithmic understanding, the universe cannot be, and could never be, a simulation. Co-author Dr. Lawrence M. Krauss added that this means a theory of everything will require more than just computation. It will require this deeper, non-algorithmic understanding. This is a profound claim. It uses the language of the simulation hypothesis, information, computation, to dismantle it from within. It says reality has a richness, a depth, a fundamentally non-programmable aspect that no computer, no matter how powerful, could ever replicate or contain. But the story doesn't even end there. While some scientists were trying to prove we're not in a simulation, others were busy modifying the hypothesis into even stranger and more elegant forms. So, we arrive at a fork in the road. We've journeyed through the logical, statistical maze of Nick Bostrom's simulation hypothesis, and we've seen its power and its profound problem, that dizzying, endless staircase of infinite regress. If our universe is a simulation running in another, realer, universe, then what created that one? And the one that created that one? It's a question that can loop forever, leaving us with an ultimate, unsatisfying shrug. Somewhere, at the very top, something just is. Now, imagine there's a path that doesn't lead to an infinite staircase, but instead to a magnificent, self-contained loop, a Mobius strip of reality. That's precisely where the self-simulation hypothesis takes us. Proposed in a detailed 2020 scientific paper, this idea doesn't just tweak Bostrom's argument, it attempts a complete philosophical and metaphysical renovation. Its goal is to cut through that Gordian knot of infinite regress with a single, elegant, and utterly mind-bending proposition: the universe is not a simulation run by someone else. It is a self-simulation. Let's unpack that word, because it's the key to everything. A normal simulation, like a weather model or The Sims, has a clear separation. There is the simulator, the computer and its programmer, and the simulated, the digital raindrops or the little pixel people. They are fundamentally different things. A self-simulation obliterates that separation. In a self-simulation, the simulator and the simulated are one and the same. The thing that is doing the simulating is the thing being simulated. It's the universe equivalent of a painter who paints a picture so perfect and complete that the painting comes to life, steps out of the canvas, and then turns out to be the painter all along. It's a profound, self-referential loop. The paper describes this as the universe being a strange loop, a wonderful term borrowed from Douglas Hofstadter, who used it to describe self-referential systems like our own sense of consciousness. A strange loop is a hierarchical system that, when you move through its levels, somehow ends up right back where you started, creating a closed cycle of meaning that feels both logical and paradoxical. Think of a video feedback loop. A camera films its own output on a screen, creating an infinite tunnel of screens within screens. The self-simulation hypothesis suggests reality itself is the ultimate strange loop, a cosmic act of self-creation where the creator and the creation are identical. But what, exactly, is doing the simulating? Here, the hypothesis makes its boldest leap, merging two radical ideas from the edges of physics and philosophy, digital physics and panpsychism. First, digital physics. This is the view that at the most fundamental level, the universe isn't made of stuff, in the traditional, material sense. It's not ultimately about tiny, solid particles. Instead, it's made of information. Think of it like the difference between a movie on a DVD and the plastic disc itself. The plastic is the physical substrate, but the movie, the story, the colors, the sounds, is pure information. Digital physics argues that the universe is fundamentally like that movie. What we perceive as matter, force, space, and time are all emergent phenomena that bubble up from a deeper layer of abstract, mathematical information processing. The laws of physics are the code, the universe is the computation. Now, combine this with panpsychism. Panpsychism is the philosophical view that consciousness isn't a rare, late-arriving product of complex biological brains. Instead, it's a fundamental feature of the universe, present in some basic form in all things. It's not that a rock is thinking, but that the ingredients of subjective experience are as basic as mass or charge. In this view, the universe isn't a dead, mechanical clockwork, it has an interior, mental aspect. The self-simulation hypothesis takes these two ideas and fuses them into something new. It proposes that the fundamental substance of reality is neither inert matter nor passive information, but thought or consciousness itself. The universe is conceived of as a universal mind or a field of consciousness. And this cosmic mind doesn't find a universe already there. It brings a universe into existence by thinking it into existence. This is where the central, beautiful mechanism clicks into place. The universe as mind runs a self-simulation. It uses a kind of inherent, mathematical code, the software of reality, to generate a virtual world within its own consciousness. But this isn't a virtual world for someone else to experience. It is the experience of the universal mind itself. The simulation is the universe's own thought, its own dream, its own self-exploration. The code is the thinker, and the thinker is the code, in one seamless, self-actualizing loop. As researcher Christopher Langan, whose work explores similar ideas, puts it, this makes reality a natural reflexive self-simulation. This elegantly and decisively sidesteps the infinite regress problem. There is no outside. There is no higher-level universe containing the computer that runs us, because the computer is the universe's own conscious process. The question, what created the simulator, dissolves because the simulator is self-creating through the act of simulation. It's a bootstrap paradox of the grandest scale. The universe pulls itself into existence by its own bootstraps. The paper calls this timeless emergentism, where everything emerges in a nested, hierarchical order within one grand, timeless thought. To grasp this, the paper offers a powerful analogy we're all intimately familiar with: a dream. When you dream, your own mind, your consciousness, generates an entire world. It creates landscapes, buildings, and other people. It generates physics. You can feel the weight of objects, the resistance of water, the pull of gravity in a fall. In a lucid dream, where you know you're dreaming, this world can feel hyperreal, utterly convincing, and completely immersive. Crucially, in a dream, there is no external projector or screen. The dream world is generated by, exists within, and is experienced by the same consciousness. The dreamer and the dream are a closed, self-contained system. The self-simulation hypothesis suggests our universe is akin to that. It is the dream or the self-simulation of a cosmic consciousness. There is no external programmer tweaking the code, no alien kid on a cosmic couch playing a game. The consciousness and the simulation are one and the same, in a self-referential loop. This leads to a fascinating and testable prediction hinted at in the paper. If reality itself is a mental self-simulation, then it makes sense that consciousness within the simulation, like ours, would, as it evolves, naturally get better at creating its own internal simulations. And what do we see? We see human consciousness creating incredibly detailed dreams, vivid fantasies, and increasingly complex virtual realities. The paper even notes, with a bit of cheek, that human dreams today, with their flawless, immersive, and high-resolution detail, are far more realistic and convincing than any computer simulation we've yet built. Our minds are already powerful simulators, and that might not be a bug in the system, but a feature of a reality whose fundamental nature is conscious simulation. Let's contrast this directly with Bostrom's hypothesis to see the revolutionary difference. In Bostrom's classic simulation hypothesis, the sequence is materialistic and linear. First, there is a physical base reality. In that physical reality, conscious beings, like advanced humans or aliens, evolve from matter. Those conscious beings then build powerful computers. Those computers then run simulations containing conscious beings. Here, consciousness emerges from a prior physical realm. In the self-simulation hypothesis, this sequence is inverted and unified. The starting point is not a physical realm, but a ground state of consciousness or thought, a panpsychic substrate. From this substrate, via self-simulation, the appearance of a physical universe emerges, complete with the laws of physics that allow for beings like us to evolve. In this view, physical information emerges from a conscious realm, not the other way around. This difference resolves another nagging worry. In Bostrom's nested simulations, a profound anxiety exists. Which universe is the real one? If we're in a simulation within a simulation, our reality is, in a sense, fake, a copy of a copy, far removed from the original source. It can feel ontologically inferior, like a shadow of a shadow. The self-simulation hypothesis eliminates this hierarchy of realness. Since everything is ultimately made of the same fundamental substance, thought, every level of the simulation is equally real. Your conscious experience, the tree outside your window, the distant galaxy, all are real patterns within the grand thought of the self-simulating universe. There is no fake, simulation and real, base reality. There is only the one, self-simulating reality expressing itself in myriad forms. As the paper states, in the simulation hypothesis, the simulations are a fake reality. In the self-simulation hypothesis, they are real. This is a monumental shift. It transforms the simulation idea from a potentially nihilistic or skeptical threat, the fear that nothing is real, into a potentially holistic and even spiritual concept, that everything is a real, conscious expression of a self-knowing universe. It doesn't ask us to doubt our reality, but to reconsider its ultimate nature. Of course, this idea sits at the farthest frontier of speculation, weaving together quantum gravity research, information theory, and ancient philosophical idealism. It's not a proven scientific theory, but a bold interpretive framework, a what-if, of staggering scope. Its power lies in its internal coherence, and its elegant solution to the problem of origins. It dares to propose an answer where others stop at. It just is, suggesting that the universe exists because it is the only logical thing a universe of pure thought can do, think itself into being, in an eternal, strange, and wondrous loop. So, where does this leave us? We've journeyed from ancient Chinese philosophers to 2025 mathematical proofs, from statistical trilemmas to cosmic dreams. We've seen a compelling logical argument, Bostrom's, a powerful potential refutation, the Gödelian mathematical proof, and a mind-bending alternative, the self-simulation. The truth is, we may never have a final, definitive, universally accepted answer. The simulation hypothesis, in its traditional form, has been dealt a serious blow by the recent mathematical research, pushing it back toward the realm of intriguing but unlikely speculation for many scientists. But the deeper questions it raises are eternal. Whether we are in a simulation or not, the exercise is invaluable. It forces us to question our assumptions. It makes us humble. It reminds us that our perception is limited, and that reality, whatever it is far stranger and more wonderful than our everyday minds can grasp. Perhaps the most important takeaway isn't about the answer, but about the question itself. Pondering these ideas changes your perspective. That sunset looks a little more magical, a little more improbable. The connection with another person feels more precious, because if this is all a simulation, then that connection is the most real thing in it. It can make you value your conscious experience, your joy, your curiosity, your love, as the ultimate, irreducible reality, regardless of what's running it in the background. So tonight, when you look up at the stars, think about it. You are either a collection of atoms forged in stellar furnaces, contemplating the vast cosmos you came from, or you are an impossibly complex pattern of information in a cosmic computer, experiencing a reality so beautifully rendered that you can't tell it's not real. Or perhaps you are the universe itself, experiencing a fragment of its own infinite dream. Either way, it's a pretty amazing show to be a part of. Thank you so much for taking this deep dive with me today. If your head is spinning half as much as mine is, you deserve a break. If you enjoyed this journey into the nature of reality, please do give the video a thumbs up, it really helps the channel. And if you haven't already, subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss our next exploration into life's big mysteries. Once more, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below, tell me where you're watching from and what time it is there. Are you having your morning coffee in London? Watching late at night in Tokyo? Let me know your thoughts on all this. Do you lean towards the simulation argument, or does the mathematical proof convince you we're in base reality? For now, from this little corner of what we all agree to call reality, whatever it ultimately is, I'm signing off. Have a wonderful rest of your day or night. Stay curious, keep questioning, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye for now.